Evening all. This is Bala Samarjit here to talk about the widening trade deficit of the Indian economy. India is the world's fifth largest economy, growing at one of the fastest rates globally. And yet, as of March 2026, the Finance Ministry has flagged a serious concern, one that most headline GDP numbers are not telling us. India is quietly bleeding dollars, and the wound is widening. The problem is India's trade deficit, or its current of account deficit. Simply put, India is buying far more from the world than it is selling. According to the Finance Ministry's March monthly economic review, India's merchandise trade deficit nearly doubled in just 1 year from $14.4 billion in Feb 2025 to a staggering $27.1 billion in Feb 2026. Exports, in the meanwhile, have actually fell by 0.8%, while imports have surged by over 24%. The biggest culprits? Gold and silver, whose imports have hit record highs, and crude oil made more expensive by the ongoing West Asia conflict. The broader current account deficit has widened to 1.3% of GDP, and foreign portfolio investors are pulling money out, not putting it in. You might ask, why should the average Indian care about a trade deficit? Here's why. When India imports more than it exports and foreign investors exit, the rupee weakens. A weaker rupee makes oil, electronics, and everyday imports costlier, fueling inflation. It also makes it harder for the government to finance infrastructure and social spending without borrowing more. India has already been in a BOP crisis for 2 consecutive years, a first in its independent economic history. This is not a temporary blip, it's a structural vulnerability being exposed at a particularly volatile global moment. The fix is not simple, but the direction is clear. India must diversify and grow its export base, moving beyond IT services into manufacturing, green energy exports, and high value goods. Trade agreements with the European Union and GCC nations currently under negotiation are critical and must accelerate domestic oil production and renewables, which will reduce the two biggest import drains. The RBI must also carefully manage rupee stability without burning through foreign exchange reserves. India's growth story is real, but growth without external balance is growth on borrowed time. Addressing the trade deficit is not just an economist's concern, it is about protecting the purchasing power of every Indian, the stability of rupee in the pocket, and the credibility of India's rise on the world stage. The finance ministry has flagged the risk. The question is whether policymakers will act before the window closes. Thank you.